How's it going, my Comicchat Army? We're here today with Joseph Krejci, the creator of Barrel of Grease Monkeys.
Yes.
And cartoon. Right?
Yes.
All right. Which book came first?
Okay. The magazine cartoons has been running since '59, and my stories go in it. So it's kind of Mad Magazine. It comes out every other month. It's a collection of very short stories. And then I'm one of the artists who does the series for that.
Sweet. Do y'all take submissions for other people to get into the book?
They will. Yeah, they'll take submissions for people. Yeah, they're looking for artists.
Okay. Do you know where people can apply?
You can go to let me get their website. I think it's cartoons.com.
Okay.
And they're also active on Facebook. And yeah, you can just contact them directly through that.
How did you get linked up with the magazine?
Ironically through Facebook. And it was a thing where they were saying the magazine was coming out, and before they were even asking for artists, I sort of started poking around and sent a couple things and said, hey, I heard you're doing a magazine. Here's some of the past stuff I did. I think back then, I was still working on a series called Elsewhere. And then, I sent them some of that. And then they kind of And then I drew some stuff, that was kind of more based towards what they were doing. And it went back and forth. And then they finally picked me up a few issues in.
Nice. Where can they request this at their local comic shop?
You can request it through the comic shop. It is available through Diamond. It's also, because it's a magazine, Barnes & Noble carries it, Walmart carries it. Any of the traditional magazine sources should be able to get it.
Nice. And Barrel of Grease Monkeys, where can we get that, and what's that about?
Okay. Barrel of Grease Monkeys is the series I do. It's basically it's sort of a group of sort of loony monkeys, and they help people with their car problems, and people kind of get what they deserve. So it's like, if you show up in the store and you're a jerk, you're gonna get roasted, And yeah, everyone kind of gets what they deserve. They're funny stories. I mean, I come from the background. It's like I love Looney Tune cartoons. I love Mad Magazine. I was into the comic strips, and it's a lot of that style of humor.
Okay, and they can get that at the same place.
Awesome. Oh yeah, that you're gonna have to dig around for. No, you can get them directly through me. BarrelGreaseMonkeys.com. It's available through a couple small distributors, but yeah, it's not really wrong. I have a second book coming out this year, and I am probably going to go and deal directly with Amazon and actually get it on Amazon, which is a couple extra hoops, but just to convenience of people getting it. It's like I don't like Amazon, but
mm-hmm.
It's the
everywhere.
Service. Yeah.
So what's the book? Can you talk about the book that's coming out?
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, the book that's coming out later this year is it's the first color book. Even though the magazine's in black and white, the last 2 years I've been doing everything in color. So everything's color, everything's hand painted. Can I drop and drag an image onto this?
Yeah.
Okay. So boop-a-doop. And that didn't work at all. Okay.
Well, you should be able to screen share.
Okay. How do I do that? Not this much. Share screen. Got it. Okay. Start sharing. Is that working at all?
Yep.
Okay. So this is like a random panel from every story I did in the last year. It was like something was going around the internet. But I mean, that gives you the idea of what it looks like. This one up here in the corner here, that's actually the cover I did for a magazine a couple months back. But the rest of them are just random panels. And so they're all hand painted. And, and that's what you're getting. And it's a bunch of short stories. There's a lot of Initial D parody in this book. And, different time periods, different stuff. Anything that's like car culture or, sort of pop culture related, related with that. Like there's a Blues Brothers parody, stuff like that.
All right. I'm still looking at your screen.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Stop sharing. Am I back?
Yep, you're back.
Right. Okay. Cool. Sorry, I don't use a lot, so it's a little odd.
I get that a lot. A lot of people tell me that. I'm working on bettering my production, so
It's not that. It's just unfamiliarity. It's like I've been doing mostly stuff through Zoom. It's the same difference, but it's set up different.
right. So how long have you been doing comics?
Forever. No, I was doing in high school. I was doing political cartoons for the school paper there. So that's probably like back 88, 89. In college, I was doing first I started doing political cartoons. Then I started doing my own comic strip. Then it got popular enough that it was in multiple school papers. So it was like not only Cal State Long Beach, it was in Arizona, it was in Connecticut, it was other schools that I never been to, but they were interested in the comics, so I was running there. And then after I graduated, I started to do it as a comic book, and got distribution through Capital Distribution, and then finally through Diamond, and had reasonable sales. But then the great black and white glut hit, like mid 90s, late 90s, and you could just see sales having every. It's like I can stop doing it, or I can run out of money and have to stop doing it. So I got out of it, and then about 15 years or so ago, the webcomic thing got more interesting and more people doing it. People say, well, you should, you have this multiple year backlog. You should put it up, put it online, share it with people. Might as well get something out of it. And I did. But then the last story was a continued story that I never finished. So then I said, okay, I'm just going to, sit down and finish this story. Just to kind of, make a nice end. And then I drew it for the next 7 to 8 years.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was doing it up until the thing with cartoons started. And it just got to the point where I wasn't, trying to balance that series and this series wasn't working well. So it was the one that kind of fell off the plate. And the series was called Elsewhere, and you can find it elsewhere.thecomicseries.com, and it's pretty much a complete run. And I love the series, and I worked on it for years. But in the end, you get to the point where you realize it's like this sucker had its chance. It's been out there, it's been seen by people, it's been the shows, and not to be mean, it was a mediocrity. It's like it's not terrible, it's not great. There's people interested. There's not a ton of people interested in. At some point, it's like, let's stop it and try something else. It's had its chance. It's time to go somewhere else. You only have so many productive years and so many comics you're going to do. At some point, it's like, okay, it's time to change. And like I said, the magazine came along, and I harassed them for a while, and they finally let me in. I joked that, they had the good artists for the first couple issues, and once they dropped out, then they let the rest of us in.
So with the magazine and Barrels of Grease Monkeys, you can pick them up in any orders? They're self-contained stories?
They're self-contained stories. There's little strings that run through. It's like if you read them separately, they're fine and they're great. If you read them in order, you see little changes in characters. You see kind of stuff stacking up. Like in the Initial B series, which is the Initial D ripoff, there's the main character, Ken Zoom. And he starts as just the other guy that he has to race, and he just becomes more and more and more of a jerk and more destructive and more, as it goes along. And you can just kind of see this progression where he goes from like, the guy that's just sort of the competitor to someone who's like ready to break out like the large like Manga robots and blow the shit out of the other character. It's just, you can just see it ramp. I always joke that that's going to be the grand finale, that they're going to be in the middle of a drift race, and all of a sudden the cars are going to transform the robots, and they're just going to start like wailing on each other.
Nice. Do they go by single issues, like issue 1, 2, 3? Is that how you number it, or?
I'm doing the books as 1, 2, 3. And the books are about 60 to 80 pages. And, that's a good couple years of work per book. And that's partly just because of the cost. I mean, if I sell you like a regular floppy issue, 24 pages, the issue costs like $3 or $4. Your shipping costs $3 or $4. Who's going to order that online? You know, and it's partly for that. That's like, okay, if I do a book, it's a nice big collection. They get a good chunk of stories. You know, you get a dozen or more stories in each book, and I'm paying $15 for a book. I'm paying $3 or $4 shipping. That's somewhat reasonable. You know, so it's really.
Are you doing it on newspaper? I don't think that's the technical word for it.
No, it's on like good bond. It's on book quality paper.
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, from the beginning, I've been using like the book quality, the bond paper, and part of that is I have Elsewhere comics from like the late '90s, the first ones I ran, in my garage, and they're still white. You know, I mean, you pick up the old Marvel comics from like the '90s and you pop the suckers open, and then that newsprint's got that yellow gold. There's a different degradation.
Oh yeah.
And it's been my long-term goal to kind of avoid that.
So, do you have any Comic-Cons you're planning right now?
I am probably going to do San Diego Comic Fest, which is about 2 months away. There's another San Diego show about 5 months, and I might do that. I'm really kind of iffy about it because of stuff that's going on. So I'm kind of minimizing shows until we see how shows are actually doing. And that's just the issue of things going on. Because honestly, I used to do San Diego Comic Con every year, and you pay $500 or $600 for a table, you pay a couple hundred nights for a room, blah blah blah. I never made any money at San Diego Con by the time you factored on the cost. I used to joke that was my advertising budget. I went to San Diego Con not because I was going to make money; it was to get seen, and hopefully bring in people down the road.
Right. So with all the recent free time that we all had, did you use that time to make a bunch of books?
There's a lot been going on. With the at home. I have a couple kids, and they've been learning at home. My wife's a teacher; she's been teaching from home. There's been a lot of stupid activity going on. I've been going through, like I said, I have this book about ready to come out. I'm probably going to go back and I'm going to give Elsewhere one more book, and I'm going to go through the old stuff and like sort of do a best of and get that together. I've been doing a lot of sort of like redesigning and kind of organizing to kind of get the quality up, that type of thing. So it's something that doesn't produce a lot of product right out, but helps improve the product of what you're actually doing. Like the first time, I remember I sat down and actually did character sheets. Which is kind of funny, but because like in animated series and stuff, that's the first thing you do is you do the character sheets to get the designs done. And I really kind of worked backwards. So, I really went the opposite way as usual, which is I actually started doing the stories, and then I kind of, made the characters to fit in the stories. And then as stuff's gone on, it's like certain characters keep coming back. It's like, yeah, this character works here. So it's kind of like the old Looney Tune Warner Brothers. The first shorts, they did stuff with just a bunch of characters, and then they kind of started picking the ones that people liked or seemed to catch on, and then those were the ones that they started doing, Porky Pig and Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny were actually pulled out of the earlier ones where they were just kind of a cast of character type thing.
All right. Do you Kickstart your comics or Indiegogo them?
Yeah, I Kickstart them. Our first Kickstarter we squeezed by. But yeah, probably say mid-March I will have a Kickstarter up for the new book, and there'll be the reprint of the old book, and then probably some other goodies as well. I have like a fair amount of stuff on Redbubble as far as merchandise, like t-shirts and stuff, like t-shirt, and those will be available then, and will also be available through the Kickstarter.
Okay. What's some do's and don'ts of making comics?
I think, out of all the stuff, in the very end, the toughest part, the part that is building audience, getting the people to read it. And yeah, it's important that you have the technical skill. Yeah, it's important you have the storytelling. But in the end, the thing that's going to is getting viewership. And it is the hardest one to do. That's like, even right now, I have a good size readership, but I still don't have great feedback. You know, people are reading it, people are obviously coming back, but they're not commenting, hey, we really love this story, hey, blah, 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 blah. I'm not getting a lot of that yet. And that's kind of the level I'm working at. But it is hard. And it's also, you need to find something people are interested in. I mean, I'm doing the car thing because that's what the magazine is. It's a coincidence. I like cars. I'm drawing cars. You know, it's like, okay, you know, that this is in my roundhouse. But, you know, it's hard. And you gotta kind of not, you need to learn from what's out there, but not copy it. It's like the superhero stuff. A lot of people start doing superhero comics. That's kind of like sort of a default a lot of people go into. And there's nothing wrong with it, but the problem is there's already so many people doing it and doing it so well, unless you're really bringing something sort of unique, you know, to the table, it's hard to get anywhere. You know, it's like someone might buy it because it's randomly there, but as far as people, they aren't looking for it. There's no particular reason for them to click on your thing. There's no particular for them to pick up your book. There's got to be something to kind of make, you know, get a bite. I mean, like the name Barrel Grease Monkeys is atop of the head, but it sounds like something that already exists. You know, you have Barrel Monkeys, you have Grease Monkeys. Both names have been in popular language for 50 plus years at least. It sounds like something, it's like, oh, that's been around forever. It's like, no, it's like, you know, 5 years old now, you know?
Nice.
But, you know, and that's a big thing. I mean, a lot of, I'd say, is look at other people's stuff, learn from other people, and then sort of figure out what your step is, what you're doing with it, you know?
All right. Where can people find you or upcoming news about what you got going on?
I have barrelgreasemonkeys.com, which is the website, which has all the stuff, all the shows I'm doing, and updates on everything, even what the next stories are going to be and which issues. So people can track that. Actually, I have a thing on there where it's all the stories and the issues. So if you're looking for a particular story that you can go on, you can search back. It's like, oh, okay, you know, he did that Smoking the Bandit thing like 3 years ago. It's this issue, and you can go find it. I do that with the book too. Is I'll have the story title, and then I'll have like a quick 1 or 2 line description. So if you're going back to it and you're looking for a particular story, it's like, oh, okay, boom, boom. You know, it's nice and easy to come by. So yeah, barrelgreasemonkeys.com, and then barrelgreasemonkeys.thecomicseries.com is just comics. And then also, of course, cartoonsmagazine.com is the magazine with all the stuff.
All right. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
I'm trying to think. I have a lot to try to say here. I mean, like I said, really looking at other people's stuff important, finding other people's stuff that you like is important. Like I said, and it doesn't even need particularly what you do. Like, I love comic strips, and I'm not doing strips, but you learn a lot, sort of humor and timing, and how you go about it in those, you know. And it's really one of those things you kind of have to like put the fish in the pond before you go fishing. You need to be out there and looking at stuff and, you know, seeing different things. So when you're trying to create, you actually sort of have that vocabulary and have those things to kind of pull from, to use, to make your own thing.
I like that. I like that, Sam. Well, thank you, Joseph, for taking the time to come talk with us today.
Oh, definitely. I'm glad to do this, and good luck with your show, which you have not hyped at all yet.
Yeah, thank you.
What's your link and stuff?